All right. How are you doing today, Stephen?
I'm good. How are you, JD?
Doing good. We're going to date ourselves. We just had a new inauguration today, but how are you feeling about...
Today is January 20th, 2021, the start of the New World Order.
Yes.
Great.
Woo. And the start of episode 3, obviously. I think my favorite episode so far. What about you?
Episode 3 aired in 2014, but also my favorite episode so far.
All right. We began this episode with finding out who was the man in the snow.
Yeah. So just to recap, episode 1, season 1, the very first scene of Fargo, you have who we now know is Lauren Malvo driving a car. There's some man who we didn't know at the time in his trunk. Malvo crashes the car. He sort of evades the scene. The guy in the trunk gets out. He has no clothes on but his underwear. And this is the middle of Minnesota winter. And he sort of wanders off into the forest. Next morning, he's frozen to death. So we finally find out who that guy is. And the first scene of the show, I didn't quite... I had to watch it twice, actually, because I thought I missed something. There's this random guy in a cubicle, and he's like, oh, shit. And he's, like, working on his computer. He, like, looks in the hallway. No one's there. He's like, oh, shit. And then he looks again, and Malvo's there. And he's like, oh, my God. At this point, he knows he's in trouble. Run.
Yeah, I didn't think he had much of a shot to run.
But like, I've always thought that if someone is coming at me like this, I'm gonna put my head down and I'm gonna charge the guy. Like that's how I get out of this situation. Is I don't run away, I run towards.
Either way, I think Malvoy would have been ready for whatever action he was about to take.
Right, Malvo was like a hired hitman. He was going to kill him either way. I have two comments about this scene. So he's in this cubicle farm. Malvo comes up to him, grabs his tie, and drags him out of the building. Okay, 2 comments. 1, there are other people working, and they're just going to stand by and just like let this man get dragged out by his tie. No one does anything.
Just watch.
No one calls the police. No one tries to like help him out. They just watch. Okay, so he needs to find a new job. Like he's got bad coworkers. 1, 2. How do you drag a man by his tie?
The strength, Malvo. Yeah.
Is Malvo just like super strong? And I didn't realize this. He dragged him by his tie, not only through the like carpeted cubicle farm office floor or whatever, but also outside on concrete, just like dragging this man. And he's not a small man.
No.
So props to Malvoy for being able to do that. I could not do that.
I was impressed.
Also, like the coworkers need to like go to church or something. Like that's messed up.
But I mean, why did Malvoy have no concern for witnesses? No, that's what I'm like. He doesn't care anything about Lester. I'm like, if he didn't care that this whole office people in broad daylight saw him drag this man out with the camera, he gives no fucks about Lester and what he may say about him.
That's true. He thinks he's sort of, I don't know, above the law or something. That's true.
And then especially what he starts to do to the king in the next town. Like, Malvo is just, he plays by his own rules. That's what. Not even the Hitman code. He has his own code.
He is not honoring the Hitman code at all. We'll get to it, but like, yeah, not great. Have you seen the Umbrella Academy?
Yes.
He, the like extra dimensional beings that govern the Umbrella Academy, they would start coming after Malvo because he's breaking the code. There's a code and he's breaking it. Next scene, Lester shows up back to work. He's sort of we see him sitting at home. I guess he hasn't been working. I guess he's been grieving or recovering, or I'm not sure. But he decides to go back to work. And he shows up, and his manager's like, "Oh my gosh, what are you doing here?" My first thought was they hired someone else to fill his job, and he actually didn't have a job anymore. But no, they're just like, are you sure you're okay? Are you sure you can do this? And poor Lester, the first assignment he gets is to go to Sam Hess's wife, Gina, and deliver her the insurance paperwork now that her husband's dead.
See, I don't know. This goes back to him admitting that he never knew who Sam Hess was, when the man has a policy at the firm. Like, it's just the lies and lies. And I'm like, Lester, you're just fucking yourself. And
yeah. And Officer Molly's onto him. She's onto him like nothing else right now.
And look, we'll go into it later, but our two contestants of the death pool meet, and they are just getting so close that you just know someone has to die.
So one of them are gonna die. Like, there's no way that Officer. We'll get into it. Officer Molly knows who Malvo is. That is dangerous. Stay away. So Lester goes over to the Hess house. Yeah. The boys are like they're like terrible human beings, just like their father. And this woman, Gina Hess, she opens the door and she's like, "What do you want? Leave me alone." And Lester's like, "I'm with the insurance company," and she just turns it on.
Yeah.
She's just like, "Oh, you can come in. Let's have a drink. Let's do this. Let's do that." And then she starts hating on him.
She needs that money.
She not only wants that money, she wants that money today.
What can I do to get that money now, Lester?
Like, nothing is off the table. Lester is sitting back in a chair. She's on top of him, leg up, like willing to do, talking about how she was a stripper and she could move and she's flexible, willing to do anything for that money. And poor Lester, this man, he's grieving. He's actually not grieving at all. And so while that's happening, we see the two henchmen in the background, Mr. Wrench and Mr. Numbers, trying to figure out who has their money, who has their boss's money, because Sam has had it, he no longer has it, and they need to collect.
Oh, that's what they're doing? They're looking for money? I thought they're just looking to kill whoever killed Sam Hess.
I don't get that vibe. I get the sense that Sam Hess owes them something or whatever, and they're looking to collect. Okay. I don't think they're close to Sam Hess like that. I think Sam Hess was just like, in this crime ring that they're all a part of.
Oh, yeah, I just thought like he's a part of the business. He makes money for the business. You kill him, we have to kill you to show you don't mess with our business kind of thing.
I mean, I guess, but like a little Benji, Minnesota, you got to do all that? This ain't Chicago or something.
You got to keep people in line no matter where you at.
But Lester?
Well, not Lester. They were looking for Malvo. And he's just connected. That's what I think. They know Lester is involved.
They now know Lester is involved. They see Lester show up at the Hess house, talking to the wife, getting felt up on by the wife, and so now they know Lester's involved.
But that's just insurance. Like I didn't know what was the point of them being there, because he was just making an insurance call. He should have made the other woman at the insurance firm make the call. I just don't know why he even put himself in that situation.
I don't know why either. I don't know. I thought it was one of two things. Maybe it was Lester trying to. There was that scene before he went into work. He was at home and he was listening to some like self-help thing or something. I thought Lester was trying to like own his life and go to the Hess house and sort of take care of his business. But it appears like, no, that wasn't the case at all. It was just like old Lester getting pushed around, accepting whatever crap's in front of him, and going to this man's house who tormented him, seeing his children, and then giving his family money. Like, nah, you can do that. Because his boss needed to go to the dentist.
Yeah.
Like,
See, I totally forgot when he pulled up that the kids were there when he got bullied. I'm like, you willingly went over to this house and the kids pretty much bullied you. Like, why? Why would you do that? Like, just say no. Say, no, I don't want to do that. My wife died. Maybe I don't want to go over to his house. I'll come into the office. But I don't know. Yeah.
That being said, I wouldn't be scared of those kids. Like,
if you were Lester, though,
of Dumb and Dumber.
I mean, they
show that and you can see this in the episode because as their mom is filling up on Lester to get her money, one of them shoots the other in the ass with an arrow.
And that was after, what did he hit him with an axe or did he just try and beat him to death before?
I don't know.
See,
but something like that happened.
I don't want to be around those kids if I'm a little old Lester. Even, who else said little Lester? They call him little Lester.
Even
like, who was it?
Even Gina Hess was like, "Oh, you're a hit. You look good. You're a little small." But like,
come on,
that's so mean.
Yeah,
that's so mean.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Then.
So, yeah, go ahead, take it.
Well, no, then we just go to that scene. I know it's just like the comic relief with, I guess, Molly's old high school friend. The show just...
Oh, my gosh. I could not believe that scene.
Yeah.
Molly meets up with her high school friend at some nice restaurant.
Yeah.
This woman's never seen a cop before in her entire life. Because Molly shows up in her uniform and she's like, "Oh, is that a toy gun?" And Molly's like, "Yes." And she's like, "Really?" And then Molly's like, "No, I'm a cop. It's a gun."
But the thing that freaked me out was the spider thing, and I thought it was a joke.
No, yeah. You gotta set it up because that's something else. So Molly's like, how are you and your husband? And she's like, "Oh, I actually divorced him because he slept with another woman." And Molly's like, "Oh, okay. Well, like, how's life?" And she's like, "Well, I just, I got a new boyfriend. We've been dating for 6 months. He's amazing."
Wait, no. First, you've been doing the online dating thing. You meet some good ones and bad ones.
Online dating. It's not going well, or at least it wasn't going well. There's a spider thing happened with her new boyfriend, right? Okay. Yeah, so she's been dating this guy for about 6 months, and they go to where do they go?
Acapulco.
Acapulco.
I don't know where that
is. And she talks about how he got like bit on the neck by a spider, and they didn't really they just sort of didn't think anything of it, and it's just a spider bite, and then one night they're making love. And apparently it wasn't just a spider bite. The spider laid eggs in her boyfriend's neck. And as they were making love, a whole bunch of babies came out of his neck and was crawling on them.
Just said it so casually, too.
She said it so casually.
I'm like, So I'm never leaving Minnesota. So she's like... I'm like, gosh.
Meanwhile, I'm just there like,
I'm freaking
watching the episode. Like, oh my god! I saw that the scene finished, and I thought, I cannot wait to talk about this on the pod. How is this a thing? Oh my god! And like the viewer, Officer Molly is just perplexed. She just does not know what to do with that. clearly her friend is just not her. Jeesh. Jeesh.
I guess it did. It was a little comic relief, and then a little gave you some sympathy to just Molly's a sweet person, but kind of her life is just mundane, you know?
She does. She has a mundane life. She enjoys being a cop. There's at one point they talk about if she's dating anyone, and she's like, "Oh no, I'm too busy with my work or whatever." She's just her and her dad.
Yeah.
It was Officer Thurman, who was like I think a brother to her, and now he's dead. So it's just her and her dad.
He died first episode, so they had that relationship had no shot.
No shot. This episode I think is similar. I think it's to episode 2 where there's sort of two things happening at the same time.
Yeah, multiple towns.
You have Lester and Molly and sort of what's going on in Bimji, and then you have Malvo and his like next thing in Duluth, right?
Right.
So if just so everyone can remember, in episode 2, Malvo has been hired again to find the blackmailer of the supermarket king, Milos Stavro. Someone is blackmailing him. He's a supermarket king. He's made all this money opening supermarkets, supposedly, but I think there's also something else going on. And he's being blackmailed for like $41,000. Like $41,000, 836 or something.
To be specific.
Very specific.
Yeah.
First, the supermarket king thinks it's his wife because they're about to get a divorce and she wants her money. Malvo goes and talk to his wife in the last episode. Is like, she's not doing this. And then all of a sudden, we just sort of find out that Malvo solved the case. It's kind of unclear how he solved the case, but he solved the case.
Oh, the self-tanner on the note, on the ransom note.
Wait,
the bronzer. The bronzer on the Tanzer note, on the ransom note. Because remember, he shakes his hand, he gets a little bronzer on Malvo, and then when Malvo goes home, he sees the bronzer on the ransom note.
Oh, I didn't catch that. Good catch. So he figures out that it is the wife's trainer who wrote the note. So he shows up at the trainer's sort of gym, takes the trainer into the office closet, and is like, "You wrote this note. You fucked up." I thought in that moment, it's just them two in the office closet. Malvo was about to kill the man.
I did, yeah.
Not only that, but Malvo, like, there's this medicine ball or this like exercise ball in the closet, and he's like, "Hold this," and he's like, "I got a question and then a comment." And I thought he was dead. I thought he was gonna like something through the back, through the ball. I thought he was
same.
dead.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah.
And this guy wasn't even crying. He didn't know what kind of trouble he was about to be in. He thought he was fine. He ended up being fine, but I thought he was dead for sure. And he's like, one question: why that? Why 46,800 and whatever? Like, why so specific? And he said, "Oh, I don't know. I just want to open a bathhouse, and that's how much it costs to open a bathhouse." And Malvo's like, "Okay, like, you're an idiot. Like, next question. Like, next thing." And then Malvo's like, well, now you work for me. The funniest, my favorite, probably my favorite part of the episode is Malvo's like, well, now I'm the blackmailer and you work for me. And the guy was like, I don't understand. And Malvo says, that's okay, I understand. It's like, oh, I love that.
That went over my head. Damn, I'm sitting there like a puppy too. Like, what?
He said, that's okay, I understand. Oh my gosh, that was perfect. That's such Lorne Malvo. That is like, if a quote could embody a person, that quote embodies him.
Oh. Okay.
So now we mentioned at the beginning of the episode at the show that Malvo broke the code. He broke the code. He's no longer helping this guy catch his blackmailer, he is now going to become the blackmailer for reasons that are unclear. Like, this guy has a bunch of money, and so maybe Malvo wants his money, but I would assume that Malvo is not a guy who's sort of influenced by money.
Yeah.
So it's unclear why he actually wants to do this, other than he is just curious and wants to find out more. And there's this money that's hidden, and he doesn't really know, this whole guy's financial situation, and he just is interested in spending the time and energy to find out what the deal is. But I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not too sure either. It really, like we said, it breaks the code of a hitman. You're here to do a job. You don't go and change the job mid-job.
No, you don't. And, like, I don't know. I wouldn't hire him.
Yeah. I lost a lot of respect for Malvoy. I'm not going to lie at this point in the show.
Wow.
Just like your credibility as a badass. Because, like, this money shouldn't be and now you want $1 million? What, you want to go to a beach and, drive
right.
all? Like, come on now.
Yeah, he puts out a new ransom note for $1 million. Yeah, you're right. I'm curious to see how this plays out. I don't think the Supermarket King's gonna last, but I'm curious how this plays out. So that's sort of the Malvo track. More happens. We'll get to it. Then there's the Officer Molly, Lester Nygaard track.
All right.
So we mentioned that Mr. Wrench and Mr. Numbers saw Lester at the Hess house. They follow him back to the insurance office, and they show up at the insurance office, and it's just the two gangsters and Lester. And Lester, of course, this whole thing goes over his head. He has no clue who they are. He's like, "Oh, I thought the door was locked. Like, what can I do for you folks? Like, can I get you a water or something?" His phone rings. He just sort of walks past these guys and answers the phone. And then they make clear why they're there. Like, what happened to Sam Hess? Are you involved? The Mr. Numbers, who's deaf, sort of goes off on him in sign language. I thought that was a cool scene.
Because you still think he's faking it, I'm guessing.
Well, no, I mean, I still kind of think he's faking it, but even if he's not faking it, like, just seeing this man who only knows sign language just, like, go off on this guy. And Lester is not taking any of it in. It's just, I think it's cool. And I was getting worried for Lester. They came up real close to him. He was sitting in a rolly chair at his desk. They pushed his desk real close, so he's starting to feel some pressure on his belly up against his desk. Like, knowing Lester, I was expecting like a cry or something. Like something was going to happen, but he was saved by Officer Molly.
Woo.
The good-spirited, show hero protagonist.
Next to die. Yeah.
Officer Molly. Yeah. Just looking for some insurance.
No, she came with a plan. A little sneaky one, isn't she?
She just wants some insurance. And okay. So Officer Molly shows up. The two henchmen leave because they don't deal with cops. They're not trying to get found out or anything. So they leave. And then Lester's like, "Why are you here? Like, I told you to leave me alone. I called your boss. He told you to leave me alone." And she's like, "Oh, I just want to buy some insurance." And Lester's like, "Okay, sit down. Let's talk." Like, come on, man. Like, nah, you can go somewhere else.
Have some principles, man. Have some principles.
Go somewhere else. Talk to my colleague or something. He's like, "Great. What do you want? Let's talk."
He's like, "Young women like yourselves often forget about how important it is anyway. Like, this is an opportunity."
Oh my God, Lester.
And then
Lester.
No chill. I wish, like, he knows what he's involved in. He needs to every morning take 3 deep breaths and remember, like, his situation.
And if he sees Officer Molly on the other side of the road, he needs to call her boss and be like, "She harassed me."
Like, when she's in his peripheral vision, that's what you call.
call. Like, no, if he's trying to get away with this, that's what you got to do.
Yeah.
You don't sit her down. Next episode, he's going to invite her over for dinner or something. Jeez, Lester. But we skipped a part. So Officer Molly, we learned last episode she's taken off the Thurman murder case. Right. She's put on the frozen guy case. Molly figures out who this guy is, gets surveillance footage from this guy's office where he was yanked by the tie, dragged by the tie outside. And so Officer Molly now has a video and a still image, although kind of obscure, but a still image of Malvo. And this is who she thinks not only she knows killed this guy, but she also thinks that this person killed Officer Thurman.
And
Chief Thurman.
I think they think he killed Lester's wife, and Lester's just somehow involved. If he would just have some kind of chill.
Exactly. Somehow Lester is involved, and like if Lester just spills the information that he knows, she can solve the case. And so she's looking for insurance. Lester bought it hook, line, and sinker, and then she just casually drops her paper on the ground. The paper on the top of the stack is this still photo of Lauren Malvo. And of course, Lester doesn't play chill. Of course, he doesn't excuse himself to the bathroom to calm down or anything. In real time, he's shocked. He doesn't know what to do. He's like, "You should leave now." Like,
immediately.
The most guilty response ever. Like, I've never seen that man in my life leave. Like, come on, Lester. Like, Lester's a terrible guy. He's a terrible person. He bludgeoned his wife to death and enjoyed it. He's terrible. But for whatever reason, I'm rooting for him. And no. This is not how you get away with murder.
No, okay. After episode 2, I was rooting for him, and you said Lester was a bad person. But now, no. Lester is just bad and needs to go to jail, okay?
Lester is a terrible person. He needs to go to jail, but he's also on the spectrum. I think undiagnosed. This is the 80s.
He got the autism.
He's just not all there, and I feel bad for him. And it's just undiagnosed, and
if that was the case, I'd have more sympathy for him. But right now, I feel like he's just a little guy who's just always out to save his own ass.
Why you gotta call him little? Everyone in his life calls him little. Why you gotta call him little?
Because it's more of his courage. He's like, he has little man's courage. If he just had an ounce of self-respect, I wouldn't be able to call him little. But it's how he is just sitting there with Gina and just takes whatever she does. Like, are you going to sleep with her? Are you not going to sleep? Like, what do you want? What are you going to do? Have some type of a principle. All right.
At one point in the episode, he goes and visits his brother, and he convinces his brother to let him, shoot one of his guns. And he's out on the field, eyes closed with this huge rifle, just firing. Loving it. Just loving it.
He's feeling like a real man there. He's just like, oh, yeah. No one
eyes closed, just has no clue what's going on. That's Lester. That's Lester. And so now Officer Molly knows not only is this guy sort of involved with more than the Thai guy's murder, but Lester knows who he is. And that's a big clue. She goes to her new chief.
I love it.
Oswald.
This is my favorite scene of the episode. Okay.
Then you tell it. You tell it.
Oh, well, okay. She goes, to see the great Chief Bill Oswald and tells her, pretty much she found the guy. He was with an accountant up and blah, blah, blah. And she went to see Lester and boom, stops it right there. He doesn't get another word out. He just sits there. He takes a sip of it. He just has this grumpy face, just like he's grumpy and just, it's like, I told you not to go to Lester. Like, I'm just ticked off. And then he just spins and turns around and he's just mad, sipping his coffee. And
I can't do that to another human being. Like, you're in my office or you're in the room and I just spin my chair around, like, conversation over.
And it was the classic, just grumpy, childish. And I love Bill because that's how you said he will survive, because this case will go nowhere with him in charge, and everyone needs that to happen.
At one point, I thought he was about to fire Officer Molly. He was so mad. He was like, small town Minnesota mad. He's just like grumpy. Like, can't say anything mean. Like, the meanest thing he can do is just turn his chair around. And
grunt really loud.
That police union. No, I don't know. And so Molly leaves that interaction and is like, this guy's clueless. Like, he's lit him and his talking fish on the wall is just clueless. And so then we learn what Malvo taking over the blackmailing actually means. And it is, to answer your earlier question, you asked me what is more savage, this scene or the opening scene. There is nothing more savage than what Malvo does to this man. I'm including the scene with the dog and then the very last scene. There's nothing more savage than how Malvo torments this man. So he knows that this man, that Supermarket King Milos Stavro, he takes pain medication for something. And so he somehow finds, for his back, there we go. And so he somehow finds, like, this phenomenally well-stocked drug dealer in this small Minnesota town. like refrigerated van with any drug you can imagine, plus Apocalypse, like,
the zombie kit,
zombie kits. By the way, on point for Malvo, like, on point. He almost sold him. So he buys some Adderall, and he sneaks into the Supermarket King's house, replaces, or not, I guess doesn't necessarily replace, but adds Adderall to his pain medication pill bottle.
Yeah.
My first thought was, like, do you not know what you're taking? Like, does Adderall look the exact same as pain medication? I'm not sure. Apparently, the way this guy takes pills is he just sort of puts some in his hand and then just throws it in his mouth and starts chewing on them. So, like, maybe it's easier to get by like that. So Malvo sneaks in, puts the Adderall, sneaks out just in time. The guy's looking for his dog, and you let the listeners know what happened next.
And he slits the dog throat in the snow and leaves the ransom note.
Malvo nearly escapes, leaves. Supermarket King looking for his dog, peeks outside. His dog is on the ground, dead, with a slit throat and a ransom note.
Whew, that's some John Wick shit. You do not kill a man's dog. A beautiful Rottweiler like that, too. Oh,
it was so sad. At the beginning of that scene, the dog, you can tell, is like outside walking around, and then sees Malvo, and his eyes get real big, and he dies.
I thought he was going to give maybe the drugs to the dog or something. I did not see him in the, because you do not do that. You don't go and slit a dog's throat. That's just wrong. But
the only time in the history of television where I have been okay with a man killing a dog is when Will Smith killed his dog and what was that movie called?
I Am Legend.
And I Am Legend.
Yeah. Yeah. Everyone agreed. Oh, because he was crying.
He was crying. His dog was turning into one of those zombies.
Saw
He
the
had
eyes.
to.
Yeah, you saw
He had
it.
to.
He was kicking, starting to kill. Oh, man.
Oh, my gosh. I was so sad. The only time where I thought I felt for him, and I thought that is what you had to do.
Oh, wow.
Certainly not here. Certainly not Malvo. Certainly not that Rottweiler.
No. Yeah. And then on to describe even the next. He's bringing on the 12 plagues of Egypt to this man.
For real.
That's his firstborn, I guess.
What'd you say?
I said the dogs. He's killing his firstborn. You know how the 12 plagues.
Yeah, like frogs and lotus, they're all coming.
Yeah.
At the end of the episode, the supermarket king is in his home, probably grieving the death of his dog, goes to take a shower, and you see him sort of step into the shower, turn the water on. The water's, hitting his face. His eyes is closed, just sort of sitting in the water. And then you see blood start coming from the pipe, getting all over him. The camera pans out. You hear the man scream with blood all over him. And you see Malvo in the driveway, with two huge buckets of pig blood that are now empty, that he covers and then drives away. Yeah. I could not believe. I don't understand why he did that. I don't understand what psychological thing he's trying to get at right now. I could not believe that he did that. And I could not imagine something more disgusting.
Yeah.
Well, I can't imagine something more disgusting than spiders.
Yeah.
The spiders.
I just can't. This whole episode, I need to go shower.
But to be taking a shower and then blood comes out of the faucet. Oh my God. Oh. Malvo's he's brutal.
Oh, okay. And they didn't end it on a good note, but I prefer us end it on a better note. I wish they would have ended it the scene before, when our two, who we're going to have to finish the bet now, Officer Grimley and Molly met, and they're sitting down having milkshakes because he drives over to old, was it Bemidji?
Bimji. Yeah, so let's back up. We forgot this. Officer, I call him Officer Gus. What's his last name?
Grimley.
Officer Grimley, Officer Gus Grimley. He's the guy who saw Malvo in the getaway car and he let him go. He had that heartwarming talk with his daughter, where his daughter what would you do if you had to stand up to a bully? And he was like, I wouldn't do anything because other things are more important. And his daughter well, I would stand up to the bully. And he investigates the car that he pulled over, and the car belongs to Lester Nygaard, who clearly wasn't the one driving. And he finally has the conviction to say something, to say that he saw Malvo, or someone who looks like Malvo, in a getaway car that night, and wants to be a good man and say something and bring this man to justice. And so he goes to his boss in the bathroom. His boss was on the toilet, and he sort of goes into the bathroom and confesses. And I thought, what do you, just wait.
I think it's showing kind of how he doesn't have much courage. He has can't even go face to face.
Can't even go face to face. His boss hears that he saw this guy, and he was like, you're going to go to that other district, and you're going to tell him that you let the guy go, and you screwed up, and it is not anybody else's fault. And he's like, yes, sir. Definitely, sir. Like, okay. Well, he's his own. He's a Lester Night Guard in his own right. But he drives to Bimji. He goes to the police department. He says he has some information about Lester Night Guard. Officer Molly hears, takes him aside, and he's like, I pulled over this guy. He was driving Lester Night Guard's car, and right then, Officer Molly's like, well, of course he was. Lester told me his car was in the shop. Turns out it was either stolen or he gave it to this guy. Lester again, like lying for no reason.
That's what I mean.
Like, the man stole my car. Like,
my wife died, the chief died, and the person stole my car in the process.
He killed my wife, he killed the chief, and then stole my car. Yeah. That's all you have to do.
But what? Concussion. He's gonna.
I can't really remember. Chief, she's harassing me. And Officer Molly, now with this photograph of Malvo, shows Officer Gus Grimley, and he's like, that's the guy. That's the guy. And just right then, now we have Officer Gus, Officer Molly have identified the primary killer in this show.
Yeah.
And so one of them is definitely going to die.
Yeah.
We did make this bet at the end of last episode. You think it's going to be Officer Molly. I think it's going to be Officer Gus. I hope it is Officer Molly because like we talked about, she doesn't have much going on in her life. She has her dad, but that's it. Officer Gus has a daughter that he's raised by himself for 10 years. What's going to happen to that little girl if he dies?
She's going to go live with Officer Molly. I feel like because they are having this. Do you think she wanted to have a date, or do you think what do you think she wanted? Was she trying to set up a date?
No, I think she was just being nice. She's just like small town.
The
nice.
Minnesota thing. We don't understand that. Yeah.
Yeah, just like, you really helped me out. Let's go have some burgers and a milkshake at my father's diner. And so I agree how the episode should have ended is not with pig blood coming through a faucet.
The very next scene.
Getting on a man, but instead with a nice happy scene where everyone knows one or maybe everyone in that scene is going to die in the next few episodes of them at the diner, at her father's diner, ordering food.
Ooh, I bet the dad and Molly die before the Gus. Because the dad had something with Seal Falls, and that's the cop at the other thing, so I guess he used to be a cop. So he's going to start investigate when Molly starts to die, and he's going to die. Watch.
I think her dad's a cop too. That's a good theory. But poor Gus, like, that the way this show is going to go is the man finally decides to do right, and he gets punished for it.
Oh, would you at that point, because you saw the ridicule he got from his boss, wouldn't you have just let it go? Like, you've already fucked up. Just let it go, man.
I don't know. I don't know how you live with that. But especially if more people start turning up dead, like, I don't know how you live with that.
You are a cop. You're right.
Yeah, you're a cop. And Officer Molly, just to show that she's boss, they show up at her dad's restaurant, and she's like, we want 3 burgers and 3 milkshakes. She just orders for everyone.
Doubles, because it's been a long night.
I love it.
Yeah. Little small time.
A lot happened this episode. A lot happened.
Did. Great episode. I really enjoyed it. I did.
Me too. I think I'm with you. It's my favorite so far.
All right. Any predictions for episode 4?
Any predictions? I think that Supermarket King dies in episode 4. Any
money exchanges hands?
I don't know. I think Malvo, if I had to guess, I think Malvo just gets tired of this man and doesn't feel like tormenting him anymore and just kills him. He kills him and his bodyguard, who thinks like he's the shit. I think that happens, and I think what also happens in the next episode is Malvo finds out that Molly or Officer Gus know about him, and he nothing happens yet, but he sort of starts to move his target on one of them.
He has to go back. All right. I'm going to throw in the trainer dies too, because I just don't think he's going to leave that loose end.
Right? Yeah, he's definitely not going to leave that loose end. Definitely not.
All right. Well, until next time, Stephen, it was great talking to you on this episode. Yes, sir.